Hey everyone, today I'm going to be doing something that I haven't done in quite some time, and that is I'm going to be taking a look at Blazblue Entropy Effect, a game that is going to be coming out in a couple of days from now. Now this game just kind of came out of left field for me. I just opened up my Steam, saw the promotions, it was in there, trailer looked kind of cool, decided to put it on my wish list, and then I just left it there for a day before I took another look at it. And after reading through about half of the stuff that was there on the Steam page, I decided to buy into the early access because it just looked so freaking cool. Now, if you're somebody that has been playing games for a little while, then the name Blazblue is probably going to be quite familiar with you. It's quite a popular IP in the fighting game genre. However, this game is not a fighting game. It is a 2D action platforming roguelike game instead, which those just happen to be some of my favorite types of games. So I was quite excited for this game, which is also why I decided to buy into the early access. Didn't even realize that the early access period was ending in literally a couple of days from now, but I don't regret it a single bit because this game actually surprised me quite a bit. It's really good. I've played it for about 10 hours at this point. I've unlocked all of the characters, tried all of them out. I have beaten a run, so to speak, like I've beaten the game kind of. Not on hard mode yet though, because I have that unlocked now, but I'm gonna leave hard mode for when the game officially launches. Yeah, so that was a bit of a lie. I did end up trying it last night right before I went to bed after I had recorded the video. It wasn't really what I expected hard mode to be. The overall mob encounters, which you're seeing right now in the background, didn't really go up in difficulty that much, but the bosses were a whole lot more challenging than I expected them to be, coming from just looking at the mob rounds themselves. So overall difficulty didn't change that much, but the bosses do become a whole lot more challenging. Thought I would just add that in here. But yeah, I've done 2 runs now that I've completed, kind of seen everything that there is to see, so I wanted to just talk about this game a little bit and see if maybe you guys would be interested in playing it as well, because I think that this is probably going in like my top 5 roguelike games of all time that I have played. So yeah, it's definitely a very great game. So I'm just gonna talk about the game itself, talk about the runs, how that progresses, character progression, throughout a run, and then also the permanent progression of the game. Now, when it comes down to the permanent progression, that's actually where I think it is the most interesting compared to most other roguelikes, because it is very unique. Now, whenever you finish a run, your character is going to be recorded, so to speak, in 2 manners. One manner is they are going to be given a score or a rating depending on how strong your character was when you finished. And finishing can be either you just die on the run and that's it, or you complete the run. Both of those things count as finishing a run, and you'll get a rating at that point, and your character is going to be saved. Now, this saved character you can interact with in 2 ways. The first way is you can use this character now as a supportive character on your next run. You of course can't use the same character twice, so let's say for example you're playing Hibiki, you can't have Hibiki support Hibiki, you need to play somebody else to have Hibiki as your support, for example. However, once you do have 3 characters unlocked, you can have your main character and then 2 supportive characters. The higher the rating of your supportive character is going to be, the more passive benefits they are going to be providing for your main character. You can have 1 on the left slot, 1 on the right slot. You will inherit 2 skills from these characters. Well, you'll inherit 1 skill from each character, so in total you'll have 2 supportive skills to use, and then you will also be getting passive benefits past that, depending on how much rating you had. The higher the rating of the character, the more passive unlocks that you will have available to you. The second way how you interact with these recorded characters is when you're doing the Mindscape challenges. These are one of the ways that you can unlock more characters in the game. One of them is by quite literally just collecting power-ups, and then for total amount of power-ups collected at certain intervals, you're going to be given a character unlock token. So when you first start playing the game, just collect as many of these power-ups as you can, and then you get a bunch of character tokens. But the second way how you unlock characters is by doing these challenges. The way how you do these challenges is you run up to the NPC and you basically load in a character that you have saved, and then you can go and play the challenge. The only limitation to doing these challenges is that your character needs to meet a certain score requirement before you're able to partake in the next challenge. And then you also need to make sure that you have a character available, because as soon as you play a challenge with a character, gets grayed out, and you need to go and record a new one before you can try the next challenge, or before you can try the challenge that you just failed a second or a third time. And then of course the other part of the permanent progression is something that is very simple and standard. You just get a currency that you can use to buy permanent upgrades like more HP, more starting currency, more starting experience, more HP potion charges, that kind of stuff. All pretty basic stuff, but that is also there. So we have the really cool recording and saving of your characters on one hand, and then we have the very basic normal permanent progression system on the other hand. Now, when it comes down to progressing a character throughout a run, this is where I think they also did a pretty amazing job. So your character at the beginning of a run is going to be incredibly basic. You have a normal combo string, a heavy attack, an air attack, a dash, and that's kind of it. You have nothing else going on there. Feels really basic to play. Once you do have those supportive characters in there, you've got 2 extra skills to work with, so it feels a little bit better, but at the start of a run is going to feel very slow. Some characters might feel a little bit better than others at this starting point, but for the most part it is going to be a very basic setup. However, as you progress throughout the run, I guess you could call it, you're going to be getting upgrades called potential, and these are going to be unlocking different skill sets for you that are going to be building upon the moves that you already have. Some of them will quite literally add extra stuff to your combo string, or like make certain attacks that you already have more powerful, but others are going to quite literally give you completely new ways to play your character. Now, these potential upgrades are all RNG as well. There are of course a set amount that you can get, but you're not going to be able to get all of them in one run. You only have a certain amount of potential upgrades that you can choose in each run, and you'll just kind of have to build your character with that and see if you can get something coherent going. So sometimes your character could be very much so in one direction, like for example all about dash attacks or being very aerial focused, and the next time your character might just be playing on the ground and very defensive or something like that, depending on how you decide to spec into these potential upgrades. Really cool system though. Really enjoy how it makes the progression of your character feel, because you start from something incredibly basic and then you build into this quite complex character that you now have like a complete moveset for by the time that you reach the end of a run. Really cool system. On the other hand, you also have the experience system. Every time you level up, I guess you could say, you get to pick one of 3 passive upgrades. Sometimes they're an active upgrade as well, where it is a summoning skill instead. But for the most part, these are going to be passive upgrades, like for example, when you dash, you leave behind a shadow clone that will deal some damage. Or whenever you use a skill, you'll also call down a lightning bolt to deal some bonus damage. Or there can be some other things, like for example your attacks apply a slow debuff which can eventually freeze enemies if you hit them enough, or a poisoning attack or stuff like that, stuff that will make you stronger, but you're not really going to be feeling the impact on your gameplay as much, whereas the potential upgrades, those are going to be changing the way how your character feels quite significantly, with like introducing the new skill moves or adding combo strings onto something that you already have, like for example your dash now has a dash attack, or you can now do an aerial dash attack or something else along those lines. Like there's a lot of ways how your characters can go with these potential upgrades, and not every run is going to be feeling exactly the same, because again, there's only a limited amount of potential upgrades that you can get each run, and you're not always going to be able to pick the same ones, because it is still a roguelike, it is RNG depending on what you end up getting. But I think what is there, especially right now already in early access, is really good. I know that in the full release we're getting another character added on top of what we already have, but there's already a lot of characters in the game. Definitely have my favorites already, but there's definitely a couple that I need to play around with a little bit more. Permanent progression system, it's really cool and unique, with like the saving and recording characters and then using them to play the challenges, and also using those characters to support the other ones in your next run. Really cool thing. And then just going throughout a run, it's just really fun as well. You start out really basic, but then the progression that you get every time that you come across a potential upgrade, I just get really excited, because I'm like, okay, what cool thing am I gonna be able to make my character do next? and it's really fun to just find out about all of the different combinations that you can get there as well, because some of these potential upgrades will also be able to be combos together, and then your characters can just start to feel really cool. And this is also kind of where you get that fighting game feeling, where your characters are now able to pull off like these huge combo strings, kind of like how you can juggle an opponent in a fighting game. So even though you don't really have the complex inputs that you have to do in your fighting game sometimes, you are able to still make some really cool combos happen in this game, which can feel incredibly good to play. And honestly, like the whole combat system, it feels really good. It's just very fluent. It looks very flashy and cool as well. Like the aesthetics of the game are definitely up there for me. However, I will say that that is also one of the negative points, is that sometimes there can just be a little bit too much going on the screen. It can be a little bit difficult to kind of see what is going on, or where your character is, or if they are your skill effects or if they're enemy skill effects that you're supposed to be dodging. Can sometimes be a little bit difficult on the eyes. However, I feel like if I play the game a little bit more and I know what all the passive upgrades are that I can get, probably going to be knowing that a little bit more, which are mine and which are the enemy effects. But that is like the one minor negative that I have to say about this game. Visual clarity is not always going to be there, but outside of that, gameplay is amazing, permanent progression system is just fine and kind of unique as well, really fun to interact with. There is a story to be had, which I completely skipped for now, because I'm gonna be reading through it again when the game officially launches in a couple days. But overall, I think this game is really cool. I just wanted to kind of bring it to other people's attention as well, in case it flew under your radar. If you're somebody that's into roguelike games or into like 2D platformer action games, this is something that you should definitely check out, because I think this game's quite amazing. I'm going to be playing this one for a little while to come. I'm just kind of trying to not play the game at the moment until the full release comes out, because I just want to not play on a save file that is going to be replaced in a couple of days. But once it's there, I can see myself sinking a lot of time into this game, because the gameplay is amazing and I am a gameplay man, so if that's already there, I'm already sold, and everything else surrounding that is also really good. So yeah, definitely gets a thumbs up from me. But I'm gonna stop talking, because that's pretty much everything that I wanted to say. Otherwise I'm just gonna ramble on for way too long. Blazblue, really cool game. I'll leave a link in the description if you're curious about checking it out. Comes out in, I think, 2 days from now, from when I release this video. So definitely don't have to wait too much longer if you don't want to buy the early access price, because of course there will most likely be like a small launch sale for like the first week it comes out. So you can just wait 2 days for that and get it at a slight discount. But honestly, it's been worth every penny so far. Definitely don't regret buying into the early access. But that's gonna be doing it for me, so I want to thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.